Yo, 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 good morning. Grateful for another maggot-free day above the dirt, Jersey Shore. So this video is called the Spirituality of Politics, or if you prefer, the Politics of Spirituality. Before I start, let me just put it in context. I am in no way advocating doing something to cause harm, doing something that is unethical, immoral, illegal in your actions. And I'm putting it in this context because for me, the worst thing is to do nothing. And, you know, the haters that are going to hate what I say in this video, generally their first response is doing the things that you need to do by engaging a political debate or engaging political actions fall into being, quote, not spiritual, fall into your spirituality being lacking, falling into doing what's wrong. So I'm not advocating doing anything without implementing wise view, wise understanding, wise action, wise speech, wise thought, all that stuff. So haters, just don't even go there, because that's not what I'm saying at all. That said, we live in a culture and a climate right now that is disheartening. I'm not going to get into specifics because the video will run way too long, but there's some horrific things going on. There's some horrific attitudes. There's some horrific actions. And while yes, I love everyone and try to treat everyone with the same kindness, understanding, and compassion, that isn't giving them a pass on what they're doing. And there seems to be this trend in spirituality, especially being exasperated by what we're going through now, that spiritual practice is something that has us rise above all the muck of, let's say, politics, of worldly concerns. I read online recently a spiritual practitioner write, "I don't care what you think. I love you. I will try to understand you, but practice is about how I understand myself in relation to you and what I do with myself." And on one hand, that's absolutely true, but again, it's not a rationalization or justification to do nothing. Now, Buddhism and spirituality teaches from mind comes everything. From our understanding comes our thoughts. From our thoughts comes our actions. So how can I say I don't care what you think? Having compassion and love doesn't mean that you instantly accept someone's wrong opinion, wrong thoughts, and wrong actions. My Buddhism, as taught to me and is demonstrated by many teachers I've been involved with and by many Buddhists I respect, is Buddhism, and I say this all the time and I write it in my books, Buddhism is not something to believe in. It's something to do. So to advocate doing nothing is not doing Buddhism, and it's not doing any service to spiritual practice. Haters don't come back with refrainment and renunciation. That's different. That's something that's harmful. I would say renunciate from bypassing, disassociation, and avoiding, and then justifying it in a spiritual guise of rising above. My spiritual practice dictates when someone's hungry, you feed them. When someone is homeless, you shelter them. When someone is vulnerable, you protect them. When someone is oppressed, you liberate them. When someone is suffering, you try to heal them, alleviate that suffering any way you can. To serve others, not to serve myself and my own comfort level when things are difficult and work needs to be done. The essence of Buddhism is work with what's in front of you. Things are as they are. That's all you have. Buddhism doesn't say, hey, pick and choose what you should apply your practice to. It doesn't say avoid. It doesn't say run away. It doesn't say cower. It doesn't say retreat and surrender for your own comfort, for your own pleasure. Because when we seek to avoid pain, we seek pleasure. When we avoid difficulty, we pursue pleasure. And that's the crux of spiritual practice. Not to avoid and not to pursue, but to be where you're at with what's happening and work with it. That's our teaching. That's our practice. I hear the term spiritual warrior. Well, to be a spiritual warrior means to be fearless, to have courage, to have determination, to have the integrity to turn towards, not turn away from. But yet I hear these spiritual teachers putting out there, don't get dragged down into the political debate. Don't get sucked into the worldly attachments. No, rise above. And that could be accurate if the intention is not to become attached and not to do something immoral, unethical, not to cause yourself to suffer. Now, there's a difference between going through pain and difficulty and suffering. Spiritual work is not easy. It's difficult, it's painful at times. Life is painful at times. Things that need to happen through spiritual work are difficult and often strenuous uphill battles and fights. Spirituality is not to create an altered state of being or an altered state of the world that you cocoon yourself in. It is not to walk away from the world. It's to immerse yourself in it in a different way. So when someone says, hear this all the time now, no matter what political party you're for, no matter what agenda is yours, you're a sheep to follow the status quo. Yeah, you know what, I get that. But Buddhism is not about one extreme perception or another. It's taking all perspective, all experience, and integrate it in the truth. So if you don't get involved and integrate the two extremes, you find no truth. If you rise above and float away to some blissful bypassing place, there's no truth there. It might feel good, but there's no truth. It's sense pleasure. It's disassociation. An old koan says, to be attached to things is illusion, to encounter the absolute, not yet enlightenment. So the perspective of rising above and avoiding is to be stuck in the absolute. There is some truth to what these people are saying, but it's being applied in an unhealthy way. Stuck in the absolute is nowhere to be, and stuck in the relative is nowhere to be. But an integration of the ultimate, the absolute, and the relative is where we find our truth. You know, you cannot parrot the great phrase, be the change you want to see in the world, and then advocate doing nothing involving engaging what you want to change. Doesn't make sense to me, and it shouldn't make sense to you if you're engaged in a practice that involves working with reality and not avoiding it, right? So what I say is my own opinion. It's sharing my practice. You don't got to believe it. You could be pissed at me. That's cool. If you're pissed, you probably need to own why you're pissed. But all this flowery, new agey, take me away, get me out of here kind of practice is aversion. It's bypassing, it's disassociation, it's detachment. Our practice doesn't advocate detaching, it advocates having a non-attached awareness. It doesn't mean we're not present, and it doesn't mean we ignore, and it doesn't mean we turn our back or turn away. Or worse, say, well, I'm dealing with it, but I'm dealing with it in my own being, somewhere else where I don't have to interact with it. That's not dealing with it. So, yeah, I know I sound critical, but I am being critical because this is important to me with the horrific, horrendous tragedies that we just witnessed in the last couple days that are systemic of a culture and climate that has been going on since the dawn of time. Buddha was the first, if not one of the most important anti-establishment, counterculture, anti-status quo, revolutionary, rebellious souls there were. Right? That's what Buddhism is founded on. Not turning away, but engaging. By being a revolutionary, a rebel, speaking out against the status quo, acting out in an appropriate, healthy way. Silence kills. Don't use spirituality to be silent. Anger's okay. Our natural emotions are okay. It's what we do with them. This kind of perception that I'm not going to get involved because it'll hurt my spirit, my practice, because I get so angry, I get so hurt, I feel so much pain. That's human. There's nothing wrong with that. You're not being a bad spiritual practitioner if you're pissed off. You should be pissed off. We should all be pissed off at what's going on right now. But practice dictates not avoiding that, turning it into fierce passion to do something, to actually, yes, be that change. By trying to not meditate and send energy out there to change people's minds. I'm not saying that's not part of it. But the bigger part of it is to be in the trenches demonstrating that change, working towards that change, having conversations with people we actually detest and are repulsive to us, and try to enlighten them. Now more than ever, we need to be in the midst of it. In it, but not of it. Another teaching. In it, not of it. So we need a spiritual revolution inside, and we need one outside. And if you're not part of that revolution, in my opinion, you're just as much a part of the problem as those causing the problem. Okay? I say it with love, I say it with compassion. I know sometimes I come across pretty abrasive, and I don't know, it's a Jersey thing, it's a Jeff thing. But really, love, compassion, kindness, understanding, service, involves being present, being there, and actually doing it. So let's all do it together. Have a grateful, maggot-free day above the dirt. Peace out.